The casket looks wrong against the Illinois sky, too small, as if the earth itself is ashamed to take it. The cemetery team has looped coarse straps under the handles and lowers it inch by inch, soil whispering against wood. A breeze lifts a corner of the funeral canopy, flutters once, then dies. My fingers won't stop trembling. I press them into my black suit, lace them together, shove them into my pockets. The shaking only climbs my forearms and tightens my jaw. "Easy, honey," says Ruth Parker, my next-door neighbor since I moved to the little blue bungalow in Evanston. She's 71, small and steady, the kind of woman who keeps extra soup in her freezer, in case. She rests a palm at my elbow like I might topple. Maybe I will. The pastor finishes his prayer. A handful of relatives and distant friends step forward, take scoops of earth, and let it fall. The first thud on wood is a sound I'll never stop hearing. I blink hard. The casket blurs, then snaps back into focus. If I close my eyes, I can see Lily's sleeping face, lashes dusting her cheek, that stubborn little crease between her brows, even in dreams. She kept a blue hair clip in the pocket of her hospital pajamas because it made the medicine behave. She told every nurse to pin it to the IV pole. Hook the line, start the drip, pin the clip. Faith, but shaped like plastic. When the fever took her last week and wouldn't let go, I held that clip in my fist until it imprinted my palm. I take the clip out now and lay it atop the new earth. The blue glows against the brown like a small planet. "I'll protect what's yours," I whisper. It isn't the sort of thing men say out loud. It happens anyway. Around us, Rose Hill Cemetery exhales. Rows of old stone tilt into the afternoon. Far away, Lake Michigan is a rumor. Chicago's noise hums past the gates, softened by distance and grief. A gull threads the sky and veers south. My phone buzzes. I shouldn't look. Grief turns your own hands against you. By the time I decide not to, the screen is already lit. Morgan, my sister, has posted a carousel from an engagement party at a hotel downtown. Ballrooms and orchids and glass. She stands under an arch of lilies, laughing, her hand tipped just so to catch the light on the diamond. My parents are beside her, proud, perfectly lit. The timestamp 20 minutes ago. While my daughter's casket was lowering, they were raising a toast. I don't feel angry first. I don't feel anything. It's like stepping into a room where a fan's been spinning for hours and someone pulls the plug. Stillness that's obscene. "Dan?" Ruth asks softly. I show her the screen. Her mouth goes thin. She squeezes my arm so hard it hurts. "We're here," she says. "Let that be enough for right now. It hasn't been enough for 8 months. 8 months of hospital corridors, beeping monitors, blood counts that never said what we needed them to. 8 months of learning the names of medicines that sounded like faraway cities. Nora, my ex-wife, set up a trust before she took a contract in Seattle. If anything ever happens, she said, careful with every word, you're the residual beneficiary. You'll honor Lily's memory. I told her nothing would happen. Words are cheaper than air. The team finishes. People drift away, touch my shoulder like it's a stove they're not sure is hot. Ruth stays. The breeze picks up and carries a little lake smell with it. The city remembers how to be alive. Come on, Ruth says. I put a casserole in the oven. Even grief needs calories. At home, the rooms have the wrong sizes, like the house is trying on someone else's clothes. The couch is too long. The kettle is too slow. In Lily's room, the glow-in-the-dark stars we stuck up last fall still hold a faint charge in the afternoon. Her backpack slumps in the corner where we abandoned it when tomorrow became hospitals. I don't step inside. I lean on the doorframe until it creaks, then go to the sink and try to drink water. But my throat doesn't know the choreography anymore. By evening, the calls and texts start. Condolences, the rehearsed kind. A few practical ones, returning the rented wheelchair, who at the school to notify about her lunch account. Then the message I hadn't armored myself for because I didn't think there was any armor left. Mom, Elaine, we need to discuss Lily's trust. Bring the papers tomorrow. I stare until the letters swim. My thumb moves on its own. I buried my child today. 3 dots appear like a held breath. Don't be dramatic, Daniel. This is important for the whole family. The whole family. The whole family that found time for orchids and speeches but not a grave. Something colder than the hospital air spreads through me. Clarity is winter. I turn the phone off and let the house darken around me. I won't sleep. Sleep asks a price I can't pay. Morning makes everything look like it belongs to someone competent. I shave and nick myself twice. I choose a clean shirt, find a tie from a past life, fasten it because it feels like armor. The drive down Ridge Avenue to my parents' house in Wilmette is a loop of small American scenes. A kid walking a golden retriever that's walking him back, a coffee line snaking to the sidewalk, a guy jogging in shorts he'll regret when the wind swings around. A silver CRV with a dented bumper is in the driveway. Bill's car. Of course it is. When we were 12, Bill and I stole peaches from a stall at the farmer's market and ate them on the curb, juice all the way to our wrists. He was at my wedding. He brought burgers to the hospital the first long night. Then his visits turned into texts, turned into nothing. People vanish kindly. Inside, the sitting room looks staged for a real estate listing, polished, balanced, lifeless. Morgan sits on the cream sofa in designer black, perfection arranged at ankle height. Bill perches on the edge of an armchair like a substitute teacher hoping for mercy. Dad, Charles, stands by the coffee table, a folder and pen lined up as if he's prepping a board presentation. Mom hovers near a mantle photo of a happier fiction. No one says Lily's name. Daniel, Dad says in that tone from my Little League years, cordial disappointment. We'll keep this efficient. I sit because he's arranged the room so sitting is the only option. He slides the folder toward me. We need to reassign the trust. Morgan will serve as trustee. Sign here and here. No, I say before my brain warms up. That's not what Nora wrote. That's not what it is. Morgan leans forward, compassion in her eyebrows like it's been glued there. You're not in a state to manage this. We're trying to help. Loans, investments. It's a lot. I open the folder because part of me still wants the world to blink and act normal. Inside, a printout about guardianship and mental competency. Another, Trusts 101. Dates on top, 14 months ago when Lily first got sick. You started this when she was diagnosed, I say. My voice sounds like documentary narration you don't trust. Dad's jaw tightens. We prepared. That's what responsible people do. You should appreciate that more than anyone. There's a corner of a different document peeking out. A line drawing of a kitchen with an island larger than my car. Morgan's remodel. She doesn't bother hiding it. Since we're being honest, she says, Aaron's firm has a cash crunch. The wedding's locked in, and the Michigan Lake House needs repairs. You'll feel better once this is handled. Handled, I repeat, thinking how a grave is handled earth. How silence is handled conflict. How sometimes handled means erased. If you refuse, Dad says, cool as a ledger, we'll petition for temporary guardianship. For your own good. He sets the pen on the signature line like it's a kindly suggestion. I push the folder back. I need time to think. Morgan's smile kinks at the corners. Don't make this ugly, Dan. You know you're not at your best. Bill clears his throat. We all want what's right for Lily's legacy, he offers, trying to tie a bow on a grenade. He doesn't meet my eyes. I picture his twin girls in 4th of July shirts. Him promising Morgan she could put in a word for a job with Aaron. Desperation wearing cologne. I leave before my voice cracks. Outside, the sun is at that angle that makes cracked sidewalks look intentional. I sit in my car with both hands on the wheel until the leather warms. My phone rings. Nora's parents from Spokane. Breathless, apologizing for not being able to fly back in time. Their grief steady and messy. Tell us what you need, her mother says. Anything, her dad adds, useless and perfect. When the call ends, I scroll to a contact Nora sent months ago with the subject line, if things get messy. Alan Reed, attorney. He answers on the second ring. Come now, he says. 2 words that feel like a door swinging open. His office in the loop smells like paper that's been read twice. Heavy desk, leather chairs, law degrees like stained glass. He's older than I expected, but his eyes could cut rope. I hand him the folder. He reads. When he looks up, he says, there are 2 of you here. The father who lost a daughter, and the advocate who learned to speak medicine and refused to leave the night shift. Only one should sign things. My throat burns. My eyes don't. Grief is perverse. Alan opens a drawer and takes out a manila folder embossed Nora Evelyn Hayes. Your ex-wife was meticulous. He passes me a statement of intent in Nora's blocky handwriting. If the worst happens, this is for Daniel. He left work to sit by Lily's bed. He deserves to carry what remains the way he carried her. My thumb finds the indent of the N. Gratitude and guilt arrive like siblings. Alan swivels his monitor toward me. A spreadsheet glows, neat columns, the office call log. Rows of dates from my parents' landline and Morgan's cell. Inquiries about beneficiaries and amendments. They didn't get to me, he says. My assistant flagged the names because of Nora's file. They've been planning this for months, I say. Saying it turns the room sideways for a heartbeat, then steady. What can they do? Legally, not much, Alan says. The trust has anti-interference language. They'll try optics, paint you unfit. Courts like evidence. We'll give them a fresco. A fresco, I repeat, because humor is a ladder. He slides a legal pad toward me. Let's start climbing. We built a record like laying pavers. One, then the next. Ruth Parker arrives with 3 spiral notebooks. She wrote dates and times she sat with Lily so I could shower, what she cooked when I forgot how to eat, tiny details that don't know they'll someday be evidence. Alan treats them like gold. The hospital supplies appointment logs. Lily's nurse writes a letter in navy ink. I arrived early, asked precise questions, kept temp charts, calmed my daughter with a silly song about IV poles. She describes the blue clip, how the staff pinned it to the pole because science isn't offended by superstition. Nora's parents forward messages Nora sent, photos of Lily in Batman pajamas, notes about platelets, and the line that makes my chest cave and rebuild, Dan is steadier than I knew he could be. I'm grateful for the man he became. Alan books an independent psych eval. Not permission to grieve, he says. Just proof you're not the person they're inventing. The doctor asks about sleep and food and whether time is a straight line or a knot. A knot, I say. She nods like she's collecting weather reports. Her final write-up will be full of cool phrases. Appropriate affect, linear thought, no evidence of psychosis, cold but solid. We pull screenshots. Texts where Morgan calls me dramatic, where my mom says, "You're making mountains," where Dad suggests the doctors overtreat to pad bills. There's video of Morgan's champagne toast posted at the exact minute the casket touched soil. I don't watch it twice. 2 days in, Alan calls. Hospital compliance flagged an unauthorized records access. Your sister used an old emergency contact form to get Lily's full chart. The word HIPAA enters the chat like a bouncer. That night, my doorbell cam lights up. Morgan, alone. I leave the chain on. I let the camera record. Dan, she says, voice honeyed, we don't have to make this public. You gave an interview to the Tribune, I say. That was about mental health. She exhales slowly. If you sign over administration, we'll withdraw the guardianship. No one has to know about your episodes. Episodes, I say. Like the night the doctor said my daughter's marrow wasn't responding and I leaned against a wall until the floor remembered me. Her eyes flit, the performance slips. You were always the problem child, she says, quiet and sharp. We carried you. Good night, I say, and close the door on her reflection. Alan listens to the audio next morning and nods once. Masks are most useful when they fall, he says. We meet 2 days later at a noisy coffee shop near the Chicago River. Alan sits within dialing distance. Ruth waits outside with 2 thermoses and the kind of patience that scares trouble. My parents arrive with Morgan and Bill in a little procession, Canal Street sun tagging along. Before papers, I say, why didn't you come to Lily's funeral? Mom straightens her silk scarf. It was so sudden. We had obligations. You told us late. I slide my phone across, time-stamped photos from the party. The room turns down its volume to listen. Alan has Nora's intent letter, I say. He has your call logs. He has Morgan's records access. This isn't a negotiation. You don't deserve it, Morgan snaps, loud enough that a stranger looks up. My parents pull their concern on like a coat. I stand, tuck the envelope into my jacket, and leave them arranging their faces. The petition arrives 2 mornings later in a manila envelope that feels heavier than paper. The process server says my name like a sentence. I sign his tablet like a confession. Emergency guardianship. I lay the pages on my kitchen table like a tarot spread made of accusation. Affidavits flock. Bill lists my meltdowns. The corridor cry. The morning I called him at 3 a.m., the time I forgot my own blood pressure pill. My mother writes about isolation and decline. Morgan includes a spreadsheet of overdrawn fees and late notices, a collage of grief presented as incompetence. There's a puff piece in the local section with a photo of my parents on the sofa, hands folded. Headline, Family Seeks Help for Grieving Father. Morgan posts a throwback of us as kids with a caption about hard love. For a minute that stretches into a thin wire, I press both palms flat on the table and let panic run its course. Then I call Alan. We expected this, he says. We respond today. He files a motion to dismiss with prejudice, attaches the psych eval, the nurse's letter, the appointment logs, Ruth's journals now notarized, Nora's parents' statements, the hospital compliance alert about the chart breach. He adds a restraining order request and notice of an intended defamation claim if their media campaign continues. We'll also ask for costs, he says. Paper has a price. The hearing is set for Friday. 2 nights were sleep visits like a prank. Thursday at 9:48 p.m., the doorbell cam pings again. Morgan. I don't open. I let the lens earn its keep. Please, Dan, she says. Don't embarrass the family. Drop your opposition. Sign the trust administrator paperwork to me. We'll keep the rest quiet. Then the edge again. If you don't, we'll tell the judge everything. The crying. The late bills. The pill. She leans close. You were always the burden. I hit save. I send it to Alan, who replies, perfect. See you in the morning. The Cook County Courthouse smells like old carpet and ambition. The judge, Hunter Marion Peabody, wears authority like a winter coat. She looks over the stack of filings like they're strangers who knocked at 3 a.m. This is a drastic remedy, she says. We will proceed on evidence, not theatrics. Their lawyer goes first. All gelled confidence and tragic adjectives. He describes me as adrift, suggests temporary relief for stabilization. He calls me Dear Daniel, and the judge's eyebrow twitches like a metronome snapping to tempo. He puts Bill on the stand. Bill can't meet my eyes. He talks about my cry in the hospital corridor, about panic, about how he feared I might decompensate. He doesn't mention how he left to make a morning meeting while I held Lily's hand through a fever. He looks smaller than my memory of him. Mom takes the stand next, a tissue in hand, grief placed like a corsage. We just want to protect our son, she says. He's fragile. We can be strong for him. Alan doesn't hurry when it's our turn. He calls the hospital compliance officer, who says unauthorized access and HIPAA and investigation underway. He calls Lily's nurse, who tells the court about appointment logs and calm questions and the blue hair clip we pinned to the IV pole because sometimes medicine listens when superstition speaks its language. He calls Nora's parents, who say Lily first, Daniel second, and the judge's mouth does a human thing for a second. Then he plays the doorbell audio. Morgan's voice slides into the room. Don't embarrass the family. Sign. We'll tell them everything. And then the sentence that rearranged my childhood. You were always the problem child. We carried you. Morgan stands, says context, sits under the judge's stare. Alan plays the coffee shop tape next. My parents discussing mortgage payments and lake house repairs. Dad saying, once guardianship is granted, we can use the money however we want. Daniel won't have a say. It lands in the room like a dropped wrench. The judge calls a 10-minute recess and disappears like a storm behind a door. When she returns, she doesn't clear her throat. This petition is denied, she says, with prejudice. She turns to their counsel. You will not refile this narrative with synonyms. She looks at Morgan. Your records access will be handled by the hospital and potentially the state. This court is referring possible perjury for review. She signs a restraining order and slides it to the clerk. Then she looks at me. Mr. Hayes, grief is not incompetence. The court finds you have acted with uncommon clarity under extraordinary strain. She pauses, then adds, quieter, your daughter would be proud. Outside, microphones sprout like weeds. I say nothing. I touch the blue clip in my pocket and finally breathe like oxygen is a thing that belongs to me again. The trust unfreezes by Monday. Alan sits me with a financial advisor who speaks fluent human. We'll preserve principle, she says, and fund something living with the yield. Something living. We sketch Lily's legacy on a yellow pad, pediatric hematology fellowships, emergency housing near the Children's Hospital for families who can't commute between light and night, a meal program that works with the weird rules medicine writes for bodies, a research microgrant for rare blood disorders, and a tiny fund for last-minute miracles, like the one antibiotic insurance won't cover until next month. Ruth volunteers before I finish the sentence. People want to help, she says. They just need